Alright, welcome everyone. Today we're going to be doing a quick rundown on how to get a Ubuntu server set up inside of Hyper-V, which will then run Docker, and I will show you how to set up a couple things inside of containers, namely a reverse proxy, and I think I'm going to do VaultWarden primarily. I may do something extra after that. We shall see. However, I'm going to run down the quick basics of how to get everything set up. So I will be using Hyper-V, and if you have a Windows 10 Pro machine, that is included. There are other free options you could use, or you could use a system and just install Ubuntu server straight onto it, right? So it's really up to you. But starting out, if you do not have Hyper-V installed, you'll have to search for Windows features and go in here, go down to Hyper-V, make sure that is ticked. You want all of that, and then you will select OK and run through the following dialogues. You may have to reboot your computer after that. Okay, step 2 is going to be we need to download Ubuntu server. So we're going to go in here, sure, and you're going to click that. That will download you the ISO image file for Ubuntu server. And yes, we are going to use server, which does not have a GUI. You don't need a GUI for this. It's just extra resource usage that we're not even going to need. We need the command line interface for what we will be doing today. So, download that. Once that is completed, you will open up your Hyper-V manager. Step 1, we want to go to the virtual switch manager, new virtual switch, and external, because we want this VM to be able to access the internet and such. So select that. You can name it here if you want. I'm just going to leave it new. You need to select which network card you would like to share to the VM, and then apply. Let that do its thing. Click OK. And now we will set up a virtual machine, right? Okay, so we're going to right click right there, we're going to go to new, and we're going to go to virtual machine. Next, you can name it. We'll name it Ubuntu. You can choose a different location to store it if you need to. Click next. We're going to go generation 2. I'm going to use 8,000 megabytes for this. You could use more. You could use less theoretically. It really depends on what you're going to be running on this VM, right? So right here we're going to select our new virtual switch, or whatever you decided to name yours. This is the virtual hard disk that it will use. You can customize that to your liking. And here is where we will select the ISO image that we downloaded for Ubuntu. So let me do that real quick. Okay, there we go. Finish. Okay, stand by. Okay, let's try this again. finish. Got a slight storage issue there. Okay, so it is created, but it is off. So we are going to right click this, go to settings. Okay, so we got to come in here and go to security. We change this template to this right here. Click apply. Okay. And then we can connect. This will open up our window here. So yes, we want to try or install Ubuntu server. Okay, English or whichever language you prefer. I'm gonna do the update. This will take a few moments, dependent upon your internet speed. I have pretty quick internet, so it will not take that long. Okay, you can select your keyboard configuration here. This is which version of the install you want. I just want regular, that's what I would suggest. You could use the minimized version if you're running it on something that has very low specifications. And make sure you have an IP address right there. We do, so our network configuration is indeed correct. You can leave that blank unless you need to customize that. That's fine right there. Okay. Guess we're gonna, okay, done. If you want to use your entire disk, you just click, you can just go down to done, or you can customize that if you wish. Those settings are fine. This is just saying, yes, you're going to completely destroy whatever's on that disk, yada yada. That's fine. Here you can set up your server's name. Okay, we can skip that. And I recommend installing this. I like to use it, but that's up to you. I will use it later in this tutorial, so keep that in mind. We are not going to install any of this. We're not going to let it install any of this. Rather, we're just going to skip past this. Okay, install time. This will take some time. Alrighty, the install has successfully completed. We can go up here to media, DVD drive, and eject the Ubuntu installation disk. Now select reboot now. Give it a moment. Alright, if it don't shut down, you can just, at this point it's safe to just turn it off. Yes, turn it off. Start. And here we go. You can run IP address. Well, you don't need to actually. You can run IP space address to get your IP address, but it is right there about midways down the screen. So now what I'll recommend is to, one moment, we'll go to search for this. This is an SSH client. It's very popular. You can download, install, run through the install on that. I've already got it installed, so I'm not going to install it again. Boom. Okay, and now we're going to open it. And we will insert that IP address for our server. All this will do is just set us up for, it gets you into the command line interface exactly like we're in Hyper-V. It's just easier to copy stuff into it. The SSH client, when it actually copy correctly sometimes, it has issues going into the Hyper-V client. I will have a link provided that has all the commands that I'm going to be running for you to, you can just copy and paste if that's what you want to do, right? So that's pretty much what I'm going to do because I've already got them all in a text file ready to go. So there's your first command. Insert your password. Okay, I apparently am having problems typing. Okay, so let that do its thing. Go ahead and get the next command. All of these commands have come off the Docker website installation tutorial. So if you don't want to run anything you see here, don't run it. Do your own research, you know, make sure you're doing the correct things. I am not knowingly doing anything incorrect, but I am also not a genius, so take that for what it'll be. Always do your own research, make sure things are being set up the correct way. Don't take my word or anybody else's word for how to set anything up, because in the end it's up to you. However, these Docker commands did come from the Docker website, so I believe them to be safe. These commands that we're running right now are just to install Docker into Linux. And now we are going to run an app update. And now we will install Docker. Yes. The next command that we will run is a very simple command that will have Docker create a hello world container that basically does nothing other than to verify that Docker is working. So that's going to be sudo docker run hello-world. Here we go. So it can't find the image locally, so it downloaded it, and there's the container. It's functioning as expected. Now, step one of what I'm going to show everyone how to do here is we are going to, now that we have Docker installed, we are going to install something called Portainer. It's container management. So it'll give you a GUI to manage your containers, because I don't think a lot of people are a fan of managing them via CLI. They did it for a long time, but this is way easier. So we're going to create a Docker volume for Portainer data, and these commands come from the Portainer website in their instruction manual on how to install Portainer into Docker on Linux. So again, take that for what you will. This command does need sudo in front of it to run correctly. And this next command I want to have a discussion about. I want to explain some things. Okay, so what this is doing, this is kind of a long list of things. So this is telling Docker to run a container. So it's going to create a container. This right here, this -p, is designating an external and internal port, right? So this section on the right, this is the internal port. This is what port the container is going to receive data on, okay? This is the external port. So this is what you would forward your traffic to, say from your router or whatever. You want your external traffic from the internet, what have you, to hit this port. Now, these ports do not have to be the same. Currently they are the same, but I could change this to port 80, for instance, and direct the traffic to port 80 to this server's IP address, right? This server's IP address, port 80, and it is going to hit this container at port 8000. So anything inside this container is going to see this traffic on port 8000. I can do the same thing over here for 443, right? And then if I went into my router and configured it to forward port 80 and 443 to the server's IP address, then Portainer at that point would be externally accessible, so to anyone on the internet, right? We don't want that. I don't personally advise that. I mean, with the proper security protocols, sure, there's good ways to do it, but I don't see a reason to when you can use a VPN to get to your home network and just make it locally accessible, right? So we will leave these the same. You can change them if you want, but that's just a little explanation on how that works. The -- name, that is the name of the container that'll show up. -- restart, that is, there's I think 3 different settings for that. Always basically tells it that this should always be running. If the computer restarts, turn it on. If it fails, turn it on. Whatever, keep it running if possible. And not really sure about that one. Don't know off the top of my head. I can't remember. That's where it's going to store its var stuff. So this is on the server side where it will be stored, and inside the container it can be found here. So same, right? But you could change that. So you could leave it here like this, and inside the container this data would be found here. But you could change it over here to a different directory, and it would be found there on your local server, right, outside of the container. Now, this right here is to create a Docker volume, which this is telling it, hey, we're going to use this volume here, which we've already created for the data, right? And this last bit right here, Portainer / Portainer-ce :latest, that is telling it which image to pull for this container. So what image is this container going to be based off of? So configure that how you like it. If you want to leave it default, that's by all means, your decision, whatever. Hit enter. Okay, did not put sudo in front of that, so we're going to back up. Can't find Portainer locally, it's downloading the image. And it is installed. So a good way to verify that it is installed is you can run the command docker space ps. You gotta use sudo. I don't know why I'm doing that. And it will show you, hey, here's your container, Portainer, what have you. We need to put its IP address there. 192.168.143. I believe that was it. Let's double check what our address is. Nope, 47. Okay, so this will pop up because we do not have a certificate currently. We are going to fix that though. Proceed, and here you can set your username and password. So set that up. You do have to have a 12-character long password. Always forget that. Alright, I'm going to decheck that and hit next. Now we can click on get started. Alright, and here we have the interface. Now you can see here containers, so you can click that. Here is our Portainer container, which is what we're accessing right now. Here is the Hello World container, which we will now remove, so you can tick that and click remove and turn that on, remove. Fantastic. Okie dokie, next step is we are going to install NGINX Proxy Manager. Now these commands come directly off of the NGINX Proxy Manager website. Do your own investigation again. We did not create this image, right? So always be wary of what you're running because you don't know what's in it, realistically. Make sure it's coming from a verifiable source. Should be fine. Okay, so to set this up, what we're going to do is we're going to go into app templates, custom templates, add a custom template. So this one we're going to name NGINX and description Proxy Manager. So this is our reverse Proxy Manager, and we're going to scroll down here and input that information. And this is just another way to start up a Docker container. You can see here, this is a little bit more understandable realistically. Here's the image it's going to use, here's the restart mode it's going to use. So this is going to restart it unless you physically told it to turn off, right? So it has 3 different ports that it uses. It uses port 80, port 81. 81 is the web interface and control panel, and 443 is HTTPS, right? You can change the internal ones if you wanted to, for whatever reason. But we will leave the external ones 80 and 443. You can change this web one to whatever you want. So we're going to create custom template. And then click here and deploy the stack. That is going to create the Docker container, download the images, and get everything rolling for us. We just let it sit there for a moment. Okay, we are good to go. If you go back to containers, you can see that we have a new container here and what port it's running on, right? Okay, now I'm going to do a little bit of explaining, since our main objective is to get VaultWarden externally accessible via a domain, right? So, to do so, you need to obviously purchase a domain. So let's say you purchased example.com. So you need to, step one, register an A record with your domain. It's fairly simple. If you log in to the domain control panel, you will find a DNS area where you can add records. What you want to do is add one with the A type, A class. So an A record, right? You'll have A, AAA, MX, several different things. You want to add the A record. Under name, you'll either want to look and see what it uses for root, which would be, for example, www.example.com. That would be your root, right? Now, if you want to make a subdomain, so you want to make it, let's say, for example, VaultWarden.example.com to access your website, your VaultWarden container, you would, in name, you would put VaultWarden. That would make it VaultWarden.example.com. Just VaultWarden in the name section, right? And then you will put, for IP address, you will go to Google, type in what is my IP address, and definitely need to blank this out 100%, but that will be your IP address. Right there. So you get that, put it in your A record and add that to your domain's DNS registration. Once you have that done, when anyone goes to your domain, it will forward that traffic. It will tell that traffic to go to your external IP address for your home network, right? So that traffic will then hit your router. You will need to go into your router settings and do what's called port forwarding. Now, typically, if you've just got a random setup from like your internet company, what have you, the way you'll log into your router is by opening a web browser and navigating to 192.168.0.1. But it could be other things. It could be 192.168.1.1. It could be 10.0.0.1. Could be anything, realistically. One way we can find this out is, stand by. If you go open command prompt, so click on start, type in cmd, open a command prompt window, and then type in ipconfig and press enter, you will get this information back. What you're looking for, most likely, is your default gateway. That will most likely be your router. So you'll take that IP address, put it in the browser, and log in. Once you get into that, you need to find your port forwarding section, and you want to forward ports 80 and 443, or HTTP and HTTPS, to the IP address for the server that is running Linux, right? Okay, so once you have all that done, what I'm about to show you will work as long as you've done that correctly. So, our external port for the web interface NGINX is 81. So we're going to come here, just copy this, change it to port 81. Well, that was lackluster. Okay, so it's just HTTP. So just put HTTP : your IP address : 81, and then you'll get here. The email address is admin@example.com, and the password is change me, because you want to change that, right? So fill in your information, because we don't have VaultWarden running yet, so we want to start that first. But we did need to set this up. So come back to Portainer. So we're gonna go back over to PuTTY actually to create this container. This comes directly from the hub.docker.com VaultWarden page. You can customize it to your heart's content. By default, it's got an external port 80, which we can't have because our NGINX server has port 80, right? So we can rename that to 5555 if we want to, or whatever you want to, right? That's fine. That's what I'm going to use, 5555. You can change the name, you can change where the volume's stored, whatever you want to change there, feel free to change. And I need to run sudo in front of that. Insert your password. Okay, unable to find it, it's pulling it down. Extracting. And it's installed. Okay, so we can go back to Portainer, we go to containers, we can see VaultWarden is starting up. You can click here, you can see the logs, so you can see that it has started there, or is starting rather. Here you can see where we created a new user, yada yada. Very useful for troubleshooting, right? Okay, VaultWarden is active. So we have port 5555. So we go back to NGINX Proxy Manager. We're going to put forward port 5555. The IP address of our Linux host, and then in domain name, whatever your domain name is. If you made it VaultWarden whatever you've got .com, that's what you're gonna put in there. So mine is, I got an old one here. Gonna put that right there. Go ahead and slide these puppies on. Go over to SSL, request a new certificate, boom, 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 and save. That will take a few moments. So that is set up. Okay, so now you can externally access your VaultWarden container from anywhere. So let's go ahead, pull it up here. Let's put in the domain. So loading its first run. And it's really that simple. So that's all you need to do. So you could run anything you want. This is where so everything externally is coming here, right? So it tells, okay, if traffic is coming here via this domain, right? We're going to send that traffic here. So the Linux server and then the port of the container, right? Its external port address.